I'm going to just focus on my own art, and I want to offer commissions only when I'm not distracted and I can totally focus on commissions, because creating art for someone else is like a feeling like no other.
Welcome to Peak Pyrography, the woodburning podcast where pyrographers and creators come together to talk all things woodburning. From artistry to process, tools and tricks, we share favorite pieces, what we've learned, and how woodburning gets us fired up. So grab your burner and your headphones. Let's get burning. Hi friends, welcome back. We are here again. It has been a long time and I am so thrilled to be back with you. So the last time I recorded, I was sitting in Colorado, USA, and today I am sitting in Christchurch, New Zealand. And it has been such a journey to get here. Moving with my husband, a preschooler, and a toddler across the ocean. We sold everything that we had back in the US, and then got here, had 2 weeks in a hotel to find a permanent living situation, and then re-establish ourselves and buy everything and get settled while I changed jobs in the process and getting started with that new job. And it's been a lot. But I thank you and appreciate your patience on this journey. I'm really excited to finally be bringing you some new episodes. And on that note, we're going to call this the start of season 3. It's a bit retrospective, and the first 12 episodes came out, and then we kind of took a pause and reimagined the podcast. And then the next 11 episodes got us until I left the States. And so now, sitting here in New Zealand, it's going to be a little bit longer, I think, between episode releases than what I was doing, but I've definitely got some good content to bring you, and I'm really excited to bring you lots of new content and very exciting artists that I recorded back in Colorado, and I've just been looking for a minute to get it all put together again. And so that brings us to today's spark, and I know that we're sitting here in the holiday season and you're probably just out of your mind, like so much stuff going on. But if you find a quiet moment and you're sitting down with your art supplies of any kind, any medium, any style, and you need a little bit of inspiration, go ahead and use this word. The spark this week is style, from Krista Webb of Blind Love Woodburning. Anything that you make using that, go ahead and post it on Instagram using the hashtag PeakPyroSpark, and I will share a couple of them in stories, and just love to see what you create. And if it doesn't feel good for you this time of year, don't worry about it. We'll have other opportunities coming up. And now for today's episode is Court O'Reilly from HippieNorth. I have been so excited to have Court on and to talk to her. I've loved her stuff. It is just phenomenal. She's like a magician with how she creates her art and hides little details here and there in the background and everywhere else. It's really go check her out on Instagram at HippieNorth or anywhere on the internet. And I loved, while talking to her, the way that she knows who she is and knows what her value and her worth is, and could explain her process and her artistry, and it was just so cool. So without any further ado, you've all waited long enough. Here's Court O'Reilly. Hi Court, welcome on Peak Pyrography.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Really excited to have you here. I'm glad that we could get you on.
Yes, it is exciting.
So Court, where are you?
Right now, I am in Coburg in Ontario, Canada.
Okay. All right. Nice.
Yeah, and it's raining.
It's raining. Yeah, because we're recording this today. We're recording at the end of July, so it's probably hot.
Yes, it is hot. Yep.
Yeah.
Hot.
Well, I have been so excited to get you on the podcast because I love your art. It is gorgeous, and the style of it and everything is just so incredible. And how did you get started with woodburning?
So how I got started was I bought a canoe paddle for my dad as a wedding gift, and I wanted to engrave his initials and his wife to I looked on the internet and I came across, well, I could burn it on myself, and all I need is this tool and this piece of graphite paper, and easy peasy. So I went for it, I did it, and it turned out great. And that's sort of how I got introduced to the tool, but to the actual wood burning art, I from that canoe paddle gift, I put that tool away for about a year and a half. And I think in that time, I was painting a lot. So I was already, exploring my creative outlets. I loved painting. And then I think I came across a picture on Pinterest or somewhere of wood burning art. I was like, I already have that tool. Like,
I
that
can
looked
do
like
that.
a lot of fun. Yeah. So I think I hopped from one medium to the next and sort of picked up wood burning. And, I was like, I don't want to burn a canoe paddle again. Like, where do I get wood? And I found basswood from Walnut Hollow, which was the tool brand. So the Creative Versa tool I started with, and still use today.
The same
like,
tool. You haven't had to upgrade or anything.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know. I've broken a couple. So this is definitely not the same one. No.
Okay.
But definitely I always go back to this tool if it breaks. Like, I always replace it. So I just found some wood and started burning and learning.
Yeah. So when you started, were you immediately going for the realistic style that so much of your art features, or did you start with some line art?
I think my first picture I did was a realistic portrait of John Lennon. And
oh my gosh.
I don't know why. I was just like, I want to try. And I knew that, if I get a picture, because my first thing was a canoe paddle with the letters. So really simple line work and lettering. And I was like, all I have to do is trace whatever I want to burn. So let's trace this picture of John Lennon. And I just went for it. And I mean, it looks absolutely nothing like anything that I create now, but it's still, like, I was still really impressed with myself with using the wood burning tool and just kind of making it up as I go. And I found so much joy in that I've just not stopped wood burning since then.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Do you still have that piece? Is that one that you like?
No, I sold it to a friend, so he still has it, and he still reminds me that he has my first piece.
Oh, that's awesome, though.
So
if you're ever like, oh, I'm feeling nostalgic.
Yeah, show me that piece.
Yeah. Oh, fun. Yeah. So were you always you did other kinds of art? Did you always do kind of the realistic style? I'm just so impressed by your realistic style.
Thank you. So with painting, with painting, I never posted on social media. There was no sharing my art with anyone. It was just for me. It was at the time I was in university studying biomedical sciences. So I had this like intense science and math studies, and I would balance that with art and like this creative freedom. Like, it was like this freedom. There was no formulas. It was just messy. It was so different. And so art for me, I just did anything I wanted. My dad wanted a Formula One car, so I painted him a Formula One car. I did people's pets. Like, I did elephants. I did whatever I wanted to, whatever was going to make me happy in that moment, because it was my outlet. The only reason I did it was to bring me joy in that moment, to de-stress or whatever was going on. I used art.
Do you still go back to painting for that, or is wood burning that for you now?
Wood burning's that now. I don't have time to paint. I still love painting. I know if someone were to be like, here's a free day of nothing and you have some paint and a canvas, I would just, that'd be the best day ever. Like, that'd be so fun. Yeah, but I definitely.
Or girlfriend calls you up and she's like, let's go do a burn and sip. You're like, I'm down.
Yeah, for sure.
Or burn and sip, paint and sip.
Yeah. And like for painting, I like the realism, back to the realism in the style. I never strived to make realistic paintings, but I definitely used reference photos and had that whole, trying to use an image to make it look like, to represent something. It wasn't just abstract and nothingness. I definitely would look at pictures and try to replicate them. So I guess I did transfer some painting techniques and approaches into wood burning. And with painting, I never took classes. I never watched tutorials. It was just, I loved grabbing a brush and paint and just doing whatever felt good in that moment. And I did the same with wood burning. So when people ask me, like, where did you learn? I'm like, I truly am self-taught. I don't even know if my techniques are like what everyone else does. I have no idea. I just do what works for me. I've made that tool work for me, and I've made that wood work for me. So that's sort of that shift into from painting to wood burning.
Yeah.
And then worked on the realism in wood burning a lot more than I ever did with painting.
Because it's such a different medium depending on which kind of paint you are using.
Yeah, I was using acrylic paint as well.
So you can get kind of realistic with that, but
but not
the,
like
with the textures and everything that you do in wood burning, you can find a lot of that.
Yeah. So easy with wood burning for sure.
So when you've got your reference photo, do you transfer anything? Do you like transfer, if you're, let's say, burning a bear, do you transfer like approximately the faces here?
Yeah, so if I do commissions and someone gives me a pet portrait or a person portrait, I will always transfer my important outlines so that it's proportionate. So I guess eyes are important, nose, mouth, just like your important features that need to be proportionate. But when I'm doing my own work, a lot of that is freehand because I'm making up the image. There is no picture that I'm going from, like,
Sure.
like one entire picture. Like I'll use pieces of pictures. So like, for example, this piece here is my current work, Pick Your Poison. And, this image wasn't found on the internet. I'm making it up as I go, but I'll look at images of black cats and I'll light the eyes off of one cat. I'll love how the ears look here. I'll adjust the nose. I'll add the whiskers where I want. So a lot of it is completely freehand. And that was like a skill that I really had to kind of be brave and trust myself with, which I ended up like really benefiting from just kind of going for it and doing it without that guidance of outlines. And yeah, so commissions definitely outlines because I want their pet to look like their pet, but when I'm doing my own work, a bear or a cat or whatever it is, it doesn't have to look like an image for anyone, right? It just has to look like a cat or a bear. So yeah. So I won't transfer the outlines, but I will definitely look at pictures and pick what parts of the pictures I like and add it in.
That is a skill. I'm impressed.
It's worked for me, and it's a skill that many years I had to work on and strengthen it for sure, because years ago I could have never trusted myself doing that or believed that I could do it.
So how long ago did you get started with wood burning?
7.5 years.
Wow.
And I've been going hard since day one.
Yeah.
My journey started just like boom right into like commissions, and it feels pretty nonstop, and it's been quite a journey navigating the art world. Not coming from it. Like I don't even know proper terms. I just learned
with that science background.
Yeah, like I just like when I wrote my book, I had to like learn terms to teach. Like I couldn't just make up words to,
right.
Like I had
to do the dot technique thing.
Yeah, like
you can't write that. Stippling.
Like dot work. I didn't know what that was. Like just stuff like that. Like basic foundational terms for art. I don't know. So anyway, it's been a learning experience for me too.
But you learned them, and you've come a long way. So from John Lennon, did you go straight into commissions and like your friend was like, I'll buy that, and then you just kept going?
Yeah, so I definitely started putting pictures on my Facebook, so just friends and family could see what I've been up to, because I was really proud of it. I was like, look what I made. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm gonna share that with no intention of like trying to get orders or anything. It was just, look what I made. I'm so proud. I'm so happy. And then I had a couple friends ask for pet portraits. And I also, within the first few months of wood burning and doing my own art and taking maybe 2 or 3 commissions from friends and family and, charging like $20,
Right.
like how it goes when you first start. I was like, what else can I do with wood burning? Like, this is fun. Like, I've never had anyone ask me to do something like that before. And it felt really good to kind of offer a service. Like, there was a demand coming my way. And I was like, I can supply this demand. Like, I've never had that in my life. And it felt really good. So I kept going with it. And at the time, I was working full time. I was working also in a yoga studio almost every day, teaching yoga. And I was like, I love working hard. So I was like, what else can I add to my plate? So I was like, let's do wood burning. So then I found this company. They had just started. They lived like 30 minutes away from me, and they were just a couple guys my age, and they made charcuterie boards and just some wooden products like that. And I reached out to them. I'm like, do you want to meet up? Like, I do wood burning, if maybe you want to like work together and
Yeah.
have sort of extension to your business for custom art. And so we met up and we worked together for a couple years, and I did so many commissions for them. And that really helped get my name out there, because I was able to do so many orders and start sharing on my socials, like, this is what I've done. This is what I've done today. This is, and it was just like, I had a lot of work lined up. And I think that helped my legitimacy of my business to other people go, oh, like, she takes orders. Let's order from her, So
Right.
it really did help sort of snowball that for me. And then I was able to like go more solo. So more my own stuff, and not had to depend on anyone else for collaborating with to get orders. So
now these days you get wood and you create your own things, and then you get to.
Yeah. And honestly, every year, like, even where I am right now, I'm not committed to keeping my business exactly like how it is now. Like, every single year is different. Sometimes it's lots of commissions, or actually the early years, it was mostly commission work. I didn't really have the time to just do my own art. So I would do so many commissions, and I get so much practice wood burning, because it was like, I had to do it. I'm getting paid for it. I have deadlines. Like, I had to bust out so much wood burning that if I wasn't taking orders and having it as part of a business, I would have never wood burned that much, or that many things, like, people's pets and faces. Like, I would have never had that practice, because I would have never just done that for fun. So all these commissions helped me grow my skills. And then eventually, like, this is the first year, after 7 years, this is the first year I've prioritized just wood burning my own art.
Yeah.
After 7 years, I am in self-discovery mode. I am figuring out what I enjoy burning, because I don't know. I'm trying to find my style, because I don't know, because I've been so like intensely doing commissions and work for other people and growing my skills, but not applying those new skills to like my own ideas in my head. So it's very
what's
cool
that
year
process looking like for you
to create my own art?
Yeah.
Well, great question. So whenever I did get the chance to make my own art before this year, pencil, paper, and hundreds of pieces of paper, because just I would go through ideas and ideas. But now it's like, okay, I got to work smarter, not harder. So I bought myself an iPad, and now I digitally mock up and outline my ideas. So I'll take a picture of whatever wood I'm working on. So it's just the blank wood, and then I will put that into Procreate on the iPad, and I will draw on it, or I will take stock photos, and I'll figure out composition of kind of what I want. And how I even know kind of like what I'm going to draw is that my ideas always start with keywords and a theme. So for Organized Chaos, I had it all planned out before I even started my first piece. And having that sort of blueprint to stick to and commit to and discipline myself to for that whole like 4 or 5 months I gave myself made creating art so easy. So I knew like this piece was this art design, like for Enigma, for example, was the bear, the fox, the sparrow. And I had those keywords, and I was like, also I want mushrooms in there. like I added like the plants I wanted, and then I
So you kind of
designed
put
it
some
off of my
bumpers on it for
keywords.
yourself.
Yeah. So I didn't, like, I also didn't commit. Like I could let go of ideas if I really, when I start drawing them, I don't like this, I'll add, I'll subtract, I'll resize, I'll redesign it as I go. But at least having some sort of like starting point was so helpful for creating my art. So that's kind of how it goes now. I have ideas in my head, I have my keywords, and then I'll create art digitally. And then when I go to wood burn it freehand, I do it in pieces. So you'll see it on most of my videos. And with this piece, like I do the cat, I did the cat first, and then I did the rose, and I follow the art that I've digitally created. But I also allow myself to, okay, I really need more flowers here, or I got to put the details here instead of here. And like I change it as I would burn it. Instead of committing to the whole digital piece and say sketching that on and then wood burning it all, I'll do it in pieces so I can still change it and it feels very creative and there's still that freedom of creating in the moment. So
And
for me, that gets me excited.
and as you're doing it, you're just continuing to find that like inspiration.
Yes, and using that reference digital photo that I have created, that mock-up of what I do want to wood burn, I use that, but then I just go for it and just see what happens.
Yeah. And so does
Yeah.
the name and that theme come first and then
Yes,
the
yes,
piece comes out of that?
yes, yes. I realized naming my art pieces before I even start drawing them digitally is so helpful for me.
Ah, that's really cool.
Yeah, different, I think, because I even seen on social media some artists, they have this beautiful art piece finished and they go, what should I name it? Help me find a title. So I know people do art and then they try and figure out what it means to them, but I I find that meaning and that inspiration first, and I use that as my motivation to drive wherever that artwork takes me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this year that you're spending focused on creativity, is that you're spending this year and then you're like, is that you've got one piece a month you're trying to do, or are there a couple collections? What does this year of creativity look like for you?
The first half of the year was um, my organized chaos collection. And I knew going into it that I had 3 or 4 pieces that I really wanted to get done. And based on the size, I'd say, okay, this one I want to, I want to do
And
it in
these
three
pieces ended
weeks.
up being huge.
Yeah, and like Enigma was huge. It was like 4 feet, and I think that one took me like 5 weeks because not just wood burning, but also filming. Because marketing my art, like it is a business. I do want to sell these pieces, and I love
Right.
sharing. I love sharing the progress and the journey because I enjoy watching other artists share their journey, and so I'm just inspired in that way to do the same. And that takes a long time, so I have to include that into my schedule, like filming it and strategically filming it, not just put the camera on. It's like find the angle, what part of the artwork will look really good in a video. So it's definitely all strategy, and yeah, it's so much work and planning, but staying organized. So yeah, definitely the size of the art will dictate my idea for how long it will take, and I kind of do a schedule based on that, and then know that I can commit to that and stick within the release date time to get it done. Yeah.
So again, you're putting up those bumpers. You're like, this
Yeah.
this is we're gonna do this and we're gonna do it by this time, even though nobody's actually saying, Court, you have to have something done by June 1st. You're
Right.
like,
Right.
I need something done by June 1st.
Yes, it's like a discipline. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I give myself a lot of extra time too because I have to seal the wood. I have to prep the art for shipping if it does sell. So I need to know if I have the right size boxes. I need to know the shipping costs. Like Enigma cost me over $500 to ship. Stuff like that because it's so big and it's heavy, and like, so there's so much prep to even get it online to sell it, and I want to be prepared so when I make a sale, it's ready to go. And so anyway, I have to factor in just so much behind the scenes stuff that you don't
Yeah.
see on social media into that deadline that I create for myself.
And
So
how do you keep yourself organized within that? Do you use apps? Do you have a spreadsheet? Do you do it on paper? How do you keep yourself
Um,
sorted
I
on
have
that?
I have a planner. I'm very much in my head. Like I keep a lot up there. And I think that helps me staying organized. And yeah, it just it's in my head and I stay on schedule. But I definitely do, like, for big things, I will write it down on dates, like deadlines and stuff like that. So I absolutely do not forget. But I do have a pretty good idea of the flow of my work and what I can get done in one day. And yeah, it's pretty busy because I'm balancing not just my art, but I have another job and I have a family. I've got two young boys, and so my art isn't my entire life. It's just part of my life that makes my whole life better. Like, I have so much
Right.
personal life that I don't share. So there's a lot. It's a lot to stay organized, but I make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you do it on the planner if you have to, but mostly it's in your head
Just
because
yeah,
mom powers.
mom powers for sure. And I'm at a point now too where my plate isn't super full. It sounds so busy, but I'm doing a lot less. So, like, even this year I've committed to just my own art. So I'm not doing commissions this year. And I did say that I was going to open them in September, but now I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm going to be distracted. That's too much for me. I'm going to just focus on my own art. And I want to offer commissions only when I'm not distracted and I can totally focus on commissions, because creating art for someone else is like a feeling like no other. It's so different than creating your own artwork, because you're making someone else's day. It's
Yeah,
so meaningful to someone else. So I want to make sure that I can prioritize that, my time and energy, to that when it works better, and it just doesn't work this year. So I'm only doing my own art, so I really don't have a lot going on.
I love
Yeah,
to hear you say things like it just doesn't work this year. Like you
yeah,
know what you can do and what you're capable of, and you're
yeah.
just like this is what I have capacity for.
Yes, and that has been a learning curve, because I have felt that burnout. I have felt that stress of business, and your priorities get all mixed up, and how can I make the most money? What can I do to make more money? Stuff like that. But then it's like you lose focus of, like, why you even made this a business, like, because you love wood burning. Like, if you stop loving wood burning, you're going to start to resent it, because it's going to be a stressful part of your life. And yeah, I never want to go back there. So now I say no a lot, and I make bold decisions like that. Like, I said I was going to do commissions, and now I'm not.
I
And
changed my mind, and you know
I
what?
changed
I
my
can do
mind,
that.
and that I'm just, suppressing that people pleaser in me, and we're going forward, because I'm going to be happier, and I'm going to be able to offer commissions better by doing it this way.
When once you've had your 12 months of creativity and
Yes.
just finished what's trying to get out, because there's something trying to get out
Yes,
right now.
exactly. This art and creating my own art this year has been an amazing experience. Like, so crazy to say as an artist after 7 years of doing art that I'm finally enjoying making my own art. But really, it's been awesome, and I'm just, yeah, I want to keep riding this wave.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
usually have a whole bunch of like a number of pieces happening at once, or is it one
No,
piece at a time?
one piece at a time. Yep. All my energy and focus go into it, because, like I said, I'm in my head a lot. So a lot of my visualizing and making of the art piece is actually in my head. Like, I do a lot of editing and altering in my head. I have a very good, like, visual. I can visualize things, like the imagery, like,
Yeah.
pretty precise. And yeah, a lot of it is in my head. So I'll be thinking about it often, and I just focus on just one thing, and that makes me not feel so crazy.
Sure. That
Yeah,
makes sense. And you
yeah.
said that you're still using your Walnut Hollow Versa tool.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Have you tried out loads of
Absolutely.
others and this is the one you always come back to?
Yes, like, so I use my razor tip in my art as well. I use both equally, but with the Creative Versa tool, I don't usually show it in my videos, so it looks like I never use it, but I can do a whole artwork with this tool but I cannot do a whole artwork with the razor tip.
Oh,
Like
okay.
this, yeah. So this is my shading, outlining, line work. You can get some details in there, some textures.
And it looks like that's the universal tip.
Yes, the universal tip's the only one that I use. Do you see that there?
Yes.
Yeah. And then my razor tip I use, and I only started introducing it last year into my work. So I'm still kind of learning what I can do with the razor tip and trying out different pens. So can I explain like my whole process for wood burning a piece?
Please do.
So I will always start with my universal tip, my universal tip on my Pyrography tool, and I'll do outlining with the very, very top sharp point, and all my shading, all my base shading, all my light shading, dark shading, black shading is all with this, because I can get it really flat and matte. And
because
then
the Versatool holds heat really well.
Yeah, and I'm really heavy-handed. So like I'm burning like this cat piece on birchwood, and it's I want to say face grain or whatever. It's like a really the grain is very, very hard to burn. So you have to be real heavy-handed and go real slow. And this tool's just so durable with that. Whereas if you like try to press in a really hot razor tip pen, it just breaks. So yeah, I love shading with the Creative Versa. And then when I want to come in and sharpen details and add textures, I will use my pen 7L by Razor Tip and etch away on top. So it's like
so you'll have like a shaded area, and then you use that to put more texture in.
Yes, and sharpen any outlines, and yeah. And then my new favorite, there it is this pen. It's like their tiniest little ballpoint. You probably can't see it.
Yeah.
There's like a tiny ball on the top of this pen. So when it heats up, it kind of draws like a pen more so than a knife blade. And it's good for drawing outlines, like freehand. If I want to draw like a freehand mushroom, I can draw like the outline really easily with this. So I love that. That's the pen 99.004.
And you have all these memorized.
Yeah, I do.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then also I have like the 7L pen. These are 7L pens, and you can see that they're skewed. So like this one I'll use for some shading, and it's just bent into the perfect bend for shading. This one fell on the floor. It is a right angle now. Oops. And I've instead of throwing it out or getting it fixed, I'm just like, hey, what can I shade? How does this pen burn now? And now I use it in my work that way. So I have a bunch of the same pens. They just are bent differently, and I use them for different things.
It's nice to be able to adjust it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then after you've burnt the piece, what's the process?
After I burnt it, I have to make sure that it's complete before I seal it. So I have to commit to, okay, this is the final art piece, no more burning, because once you put that finish on, there's no reburning it over the finish. So yeah, I commit to the art, and then I seal it. My go-to is Danish oil, especially if I'm working with cherry wood or maple. But for birch, these birch rounds, I've used a clear polyacrylic, and it doesn't darken the grain or make it go yellowy, and I prefer the color, so I'll use clear polyacrylic for birch.
And then why the Danish oil for like specifically cherry? Or
Danish oil is like a warm color, so if you were to actually just look in the can, it's yellow. And so cherry wood's already a warm wood that has like some yellow, brown, lots of red. So when you pour Danish oil on cherry wood, it just makes that wood go from like a dull beige to just like this vibrant red and brown. And I just find it absolutely gorgeous, and it just really enhances the grain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The tones of the wood. So it just works well with that specific wood color.
And then once you've got the finish on and you've committed to it's done and I'm ready to post it and sell it, and how do you decide what to sell it for? Is that number like calculating the whole time you're doing it? How do you get there?
Yeah, so this, again, this is my first year kind of selling my originals in such a way that I wanted my art to be fine art, for collectors, or, just kind of have that, that like identity to them. So yeah, it was so hard for me to price my work. My best advice that I received was from my dad. And he said, because he's a businessman, he has his own business. And he said, you have to take emotion out of your pricing strategy. And I was like, all I've done is try to be like
put
intuitive.
Love and emotion into it.
Yeah. Like my whole art was based off of my emotion. Now, like, I have to value that. Like, and so I was like, okay, that makes sense, because I'm trying to be like intuitive. I'm trying to be like, if I were a customer, what would I pay? Like, but it's like, I'm not my customer. I'm not my target audience. And I can't decide whether my art should be based off of how I feel I would buy it. Like, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, I'm putting way too much emotion into deciding the price. So I was like, if there's no emotion, he's like, you need a formula. Like, you need a formula that you can give to all your artwork so that it works. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So there I am. Like, what's my hourly rate? How am I going to cover all my costs of my website, my marketing, my time to do video, my time to ship, my shipping materials, my pens that I've broken and had to replace, electricity bill, just everything had to be calculated in. And I was like, whoa, like, now that price that, I enter in all of the information, like, that price is so much money. Like, I've never asked for the price that I asked for these works before. For me, asking for money is so unnatural. So it feels
so hard. Yeah.
It's so hard, because there's that component, and there's the fear of being rejected. Like, someone telling you, no, your art isn't that valuable. So there's this whole fear, and there's this pressure. Like, having grown my following so much, I'm like, there's like an audience like waiting to see if I sell or not. Like, I just really work myself up about pricing. And kind of a crazy story. So for Enigma, because that's the most expensive piece I've ever sold. So when I was putting the videos out before the release date, I had someone reach out to me wanting to buy Enigma. And he was a player in the NBA. So he's someone like very,
Whoa.
I was like, oh, like, that's super
You're like,
cool.
You're someone with money.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I didn't know who he was, but I saw he had a blue check. So I was like, who are you? Google, Wikipedia. I knew his salary. And I was like, oh, okay, like, that's exciting. Like, he can probably afford the price I give him. But at that time, I didn't even have Enigma finished or sealed. So I told him, when I do finish it and I seal it, I'll send you pictures, I'll send you the info. So I finished it. And in that time, before even telling him, I was like, what am I going to price it? Because now I have this, this opportunity to really test where I can value my art, and not in a sense like take advantage of knowing he had lots of money, but knowing that it was like a safe place for me to throw out a number and see what happens. So that kind of helped, but there was this huge fear of rejection. I'm like, someone that could definitely afford it, if he goes, you know what, nah, I don't think it's worth that much or whatever, I would just had this huge fear that he was going to reject. And so anyway, I sealed Enigma. I sent him the dimensions. I sent him the price. I said $8,000. And he was like, oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah, for sure. I was like,
let me get my checkbook out.
Like, I will send you the invoice. Like, I have a couple things back end I got to do. I'll send it to you in a couple days. And so after a couple days, I sent him the information, and he was like, oh, I'm really sorry, fam, but it's like, I can't buy it right now, or it's not going to work out, or however he put it with like some sad emojis. I was like, no worries, because I'm assuming that at that time, those few days, his team actually got kicked out of the playoffs or whatever, because I was like watching, and
Oh,
and one of the animals in Enigma he was really connected to, and I think that like in hinting like that was part of his team.
yeah.
Um, so anyway, it didn't work. I was like, no worries. And I didn't say this to him, but I was like so grateful. I was like so thankful that that whole experience happened. I was so thankful for him. And I was like, hey, now I have a second chance. Like I got to put out Enigma 8 grand online. Let's see what happens. Cause I was already feeling better. I was like, he already said yes, like immediately. Like, okay,
Like
Enigma 8,000, no problem. But then there's like still the fear of rejection. But
that like
then
nice little gut check.
yeah. But then Enigma sold in like 10 minutes, putting it online. And I was like, oh, like,
You're like,
like it felt good to sell it. Obviously, making money allows me to continue wood burning and providing these services. But it was the whole, there was an obstacle, this like fear of rejection and this like belief that, I wasn't valued at this. And it just like, this whole experience solidified for me that like, no, like you had a formula for your art, you got paid your time, you got paid your worth and your skill, and that felt really good. Like it really solidified, and like I'm just so grateful for that experience, because now moving forward I'm like, yes, I have to price my art at what it's valued, even if that number is crazy, and if it doesn't sell, it's okay, because now
yeah.
I know that when I use that formula, it's fine. Like your art has to be priced at what it's valued, and that whole experience taught me that. And yeah, it was really cool, because like I was feeling some big feelings, and to overcome those, that was the best thing that I've gotten out of my art, was like I got to trust myself and believe in myself. And yeah, it was really cool.
That's an amazing story, that that like reminder that you are not your audience and you are not the person who you're buying for. Your budget
Yes.
doesn't impact what
Mm-hmm.
you're selling your art for.
Yeah, because I've never spent that much money on buying anyone's art, nor maybe will I ever. Like I don't know, but I had to definitely remind myself that I can't decide my art based on, or the value of my art based on like what I think it should be valued. There has to be a formula, and it has to make sense, and it's a business, and you do need to get paid for your time and all the years that you put
Resources,
into, yeah,
materials,
your skill,
everything.
yeah, oh, everything has to be factored into that price. And it's probably going to feel really scary, maybe unnatural, and maybe you don't think that price should be that high or whatever, but go for it. Like you never know.
Yeah, that is amazing. And let's take a real quick break here and we'll be back in just a moment.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. And I'm back now with Court O'Reilly from HippieNorth. Now, Court, we were talking a little bit during the break, and you were mentioning one of the questions that I had here was, how do you find your customers? And I stopped you before you told me because I wanted to get it recorded here for everyone else to
Yeah.
hear.
Okay. So getting customers. This was a learning curve for me, and a couple of things. I'll just kind of list some things off. Growing a following, I realized, is not the goal. So having more followers does not equate to more customers. I know as the artist and the person creating all this art and offering like commission services and all this stuff, I only have so much time that I can make these things. So when I started 7 years ago, I still only have the same amount of time today to create the same amount of work as I did 7 years ago. Yes, my prices have increased, but I only had maybe 5,000 followers, starting off year one, and I still was able to fill my orders. I can fill my orders today, but having more followers doesn't mean, more orders. You still have to focus on just kind of the quality of what you're offering.
Right.
And so to get customers, I'm using social media. So I I've had to learn the game. So for Instagram is my main one, but I am on all of them.
And all of those places, you're hippie underscore
Yeah,
north, or is
just
that
at
hippie
Hippie North.
north?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of learn the game. You have to work with the social media platforms. So right now, reels are big, and learning what kind of content to even be posting. So my strategy this year with posting my original pieces is I was like, hey, I'm going to create videos and content that bring the audience along for my journey. So instead of just showing one picture or one video of a process of one piece and then the final piece, I was like, I'm going to do it in sections because this is me working smarter, not harder. I only have to film, a portion of this artwork, and then I can post it, and then I have content, and then I can, maintain the algorithm or whatever. And the
Right.
next week, instead of like trying to bust out a art piece just to, get a weekly post in, no, thank you. That is way
Yeah.
too much work. So I'm like, okay, I'll just do it in sections, and I need to make sure that I am making an emotional connection with my audience. So there's got to be some sort of like you're following along with that piece because it resonates with you. You need to get the attention of your audience and have them connect to the piece. Like not me as the artist. Like I really try and stay out of my artwork. Like I don't share a lot about my personal life. A lot of people don't really know who I am, but they know my art, and that's my goal. I want you to like connect to what I make. So I do it in sections and I have it build up. I want you to get excited about what this final piece is going to look like. And so that's sort of my strategy with that, is just like kind of having this storytelling and this building process of just one art piece, and then together everyone can see it at the same time, like the grand finale or whatever.
Well, and I've watched that, you'll do like, okay, here's the first bit that I'm burning, and here's
yeah,
like a middle bit, and then okay, this is the last bit, but I'm only going to show you a corner of it.
yeah,
And then here's the finish on it.
yeah, yeah, and it helps. So then my goal is to post at least once a week. I'm tired of trying to keep up with post every day, post every other day, or whatever. All
It's
your
a lot of
Instagram
work.
coaches tell you this is too much work, and it's work for me. I can post every 10 days, and my engagement is the same. You don't have to follow those rules. Do what works for you, and it will work. And I think one of the biggest advices to like having those videos and pictures kind of go viral, I guess, is to have like a wow factor in your video. So I like to, like I said, show a little bit of burning, and then the end is like the reveal, even if it's just half of the artwork finished. It's just like this build up and then this wow factor, so that your content is like shareable. Because art's different. Art isn't like giving advice or something funny, that people share memes and send each other. It's like, no, you got to have some sort of wow factor or shareable factor or a learning
Something that
thing.
makes people go, oh yeah.
Yeah. And so far that process has worked for me. And I know that just because people have said, like, I get so excited for your art, can't wait to see the next piece, loving how this one's looking, can't wait to see it finished.
So you've got people
just
coming
having
along the
that-
journey with you.
Yeah. So I know it works. I'm going to stick with that for right now. And I always like trying new things and being creative. But yeah, definitely just getting the audience connected to what you're doing. Establishing that emotional connection is really, really helpful when it comes to sharing art and then trying to sell it. There's got to be a reason why they want to buy it.
Well, and has that audience then helped you, because you wrote a book last year?
Yes.
Has that helped you with the book? And I mean, I have a copy of it at home and I've enjoyed working through it. I told my sister, I was like, get it for me for Christmas. This is the thing to get for Christmas.
Awesome. Yeah. So the book, that process was something completely different than making art or sharing art. The book was more secretive. So I couldn't really like share a bunch of the process as I was creating it, because it was kind of like per contract.
Then you're like, well, then what's the point of writing a book?
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, that book process, that was a lot of work. That was that was me using my daily planner and my calendar and writing. So I stayed on schedule because
you
on contracts.
wrote the techniques and wood information and all that stuff, and then you had a bunch of projects at the back.
Yes.
So you had to make those too.
Yeah. So the book, like, that was a lot of work. That was a lot of work. I had to, be very strategic in my projects that I had to make up, and each one had to kind of flow into the next, skills had to build. And also I was responsible for writing all the content. So I had to, do my research, get my facts right, all my wood, all my materials. I was responsible for all my photos. I edited all the photos. I had to wood burn all the projects and take progress pictures throughout. And then I sent all that material to my team every week, and they would put it into the format of a book. But yeah, man, that was a lot of work. I also just had my son. So when I started writing my book, he was 3 months old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I was
there's a little bit of stuff happening in life at that moment.
Just like a little bit. Yeah. So I definitely used my planner to, stay on track.
Plus you have that like postpartum mom brain that's like, which day of the week is it? What way is up?
Yeah. Like, to get through that book, it wasn't stressful. It was just a lot of work, and it was a lot of discipline and staying just on schedule, really, because if I didn't, I wouldn't meet deadlines and I wouldn't have had a book.
And so you had a contract, so somebody had reached out to you and said, hey, will you write this book?
Yeah.
It wasn't you. I'm going to self-publish.
No, I didn't self-publish. I didn't have the money to invest up front to like print a bunch of books. And that was never the idea. I just had a lovely, lovely lady reach out to me. Her name was Peg, and she was a publisher and was being commissioned by a bigger publisher to write a wood burning book. And yeah, her team was just amazing. It was a really, really wonderful experience. It was just a lot of work.
I'm happy to hear that.
She reached out to me. Yeah. And then, contracts and all that good stuff. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And I mean,
look here. Wood burning workshop. I should probably say what it is.
Yeah. The wood burning workshop by Court O'Reilly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I will put a link to that down in the show notes so people can go check that out.
Awesome.
And with all of this that you're doing, wood burning, another job, and being a mom, you're kind of busy. What do you do to take care of yourself?
I have some time in my day, some days, and if I am, I'm so go. I'm up on my feet. Wood burning allows me to sit and relax. So I also blend.
Oh, and there was one thing.
Yeah, go.
I wanted to ask you, because I've seen you work at an easel, and most people I see work at a desk.
Yes.
So what got you working at an easel instead of a desk?
Enigma was my first piece that I worked at an easel because it was 4 feet tall, and I like to be directly in front of my wood, not off to the side. So the only way to wood burn directly, instead of hovering over a table at a weird angle just so I could reach the top of it, like, the easel made sense to me. And so I decided that I would film. That this is another strategy, was that I will film some of the art on the table, so you see like a table artwork being done, and then I also filmed it standing up on the easel. So then I had 2 different videos, and it just allowed for completely different content but the same artwork. So it was just just more content to share.
More content, yep. Everything can be content.
Strategy there,
So back to you and your self-care.
Yes. Where was I?
Sometimes
I have time in my day. I do use my wood burning as self-care. Like, I truly love wood burning, and I'm at a place now where it is a business and that, but I'm doing it for me, and it makes me happy. And so self-care, definitely the wood burning. I get so energized when I get to wake up in the morning. I'm like, yes, today is a wood burning and filming day. I'm so excited. So there's that. But if it's not wood burning, then it's just watching a movie or sitting, because my life is so crazy that it's good to get out of my head and like,
Yeah,
just relax.
you get the
Just
boys
relax.
down and you're like,
Oh,
time
totally.
to
Me and my
just chill.
husband, chill time. And yeah, I think relaxing for me is just not doing anything.
Yeah, just sitting on the couch and like breathing.
Breathing, yes. And yoga, meditation, that is a huge part of my life. And just knowing how good breath work is and pranayama and all these breathing techniques and meditation. And I do, even if it's 5 minutes in the bathtub, I can just like re-regulate my whole system and just, nourish, even if it's
Yeah.
5 minutes. It's so helpful.
It is amazing what it can do, even if it's like, everybody listening, stop and take 2 deep breaths right now. Put your hand on your chest and just
Relax your shoulders,
relax everything. Yeah.
So good, so yummy. So yeah, so that's it. I don't
That's
have.
it.
I mean, I
Yeah.
actually booked a spa day that is coming up in a couple weeks. I get
Yes.
full day of spa, 8 till 6.
Oh my
me.
gosh, just you.
I am looking forward to that. Yeah,
That
I thrive going solo for, self-care, things like that, like a whole day to myself, no phone, just
just you getting pampered.
love that idea. So
Yeah.
stuff like that I do.
Worth it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well now it is time to play my favorite game here on Peak Pyrography.
Okay.
And that is Deserted Island. So we're going to leave you on a deserted island to do some wood burning. And you have with you 1 burner, 1 nib, 1 type of wood, and then 1 extra thing that you're like, I can't burn without this. What are those things for you? So what kind of burner are you using?
Just 1. I'm going to say the Creative Versatool by Walnut Hollow.
And then which nib is on that?
Universal nib.
The universal nib, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what wood are you burning on?
Cherry wood.
Cherry.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one. Why cherry? Just because I'm curious.
Why? Oh, because it's a hardwood, but it's not super hard. So it burns like butter. The burning sticks into the wood so well. I haven't had problems with any fading. I love the smell. It just burns so well. Like I've never had a better wood.
Amazing.
And I love the look of it. I just love it. I love the
It's
character.
gorgeous.
It is. It's very gorgeous.
And then what is that 1 extra item that you're like, I have to have it with me when I'm wood burning?
So you said deserted island. I would need sunscreen if I was wood burning on a deserted island. Me and my Irish skin are just like not fans of the sun. But in terms of wood burning tools, I'll bring my little mini torch.
Oh, cool.
Empty. But yeah, so it's a butane torch, just for those big shaded areas.
Big dark areas.
I love it. Yeah, I use that often for big shaded areas.
Does it give you kind of a different texture than your normal shading does?
It kind of does. It kind of like puts this like blue reflection on it, and then I'll have to like go over with my tool to like, I don't even know what's happening, but to like soften that reflection.
Cool.
Yeah. It just speeds up the process for me. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Which when you're doing pieces that are that big makes total sense. Yeah. And then I like to have a moment here where we talk about the incredible supportive community that we have around us as wood burners. And who are 3 accounts, and they don't have to be wood burners, but who are 3 accounts that you think everyone should be following? And they could be businesses or just individuals, artists, not artists, whoever.
Can I also talk about them?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I chose 3 accounts that I am very inspired by the artist. So first account is Avalon of Avi. Do you have the
Avbert Impressions?
Yes.
Is that the one?
Yes, Avbert Impressions. And I think I remember reading a post. You pronounce her name Avi because it rhymes with Savvy. Yeah, so Avi. So I'm going to call her
So
Abby.
Abby
Hi,
Burning
Abby.
Impressions.
Yes. She is, I believe she's over 70, and she talks about ageism, being an older individual, especially on a social media platform. And her message is like, you're never too old to have fun. And I was just like, I adore you. You make incredible art. She makes amazing wood burning art that is realistic, people portraits, animals. And you can see in her art how passionate she is, how patient she is, how much detail she puts in. And I was like, I got to keep the fire alive, this creative fire in me. Like I want to be like Abby. You know,
Yeah.
that like she is so inspiring, and she's just like the grandma of Instagram in the wood burning community. And I really adore her and respect her. So she is definitely an account to follow. I also have, I think it's Peter
Peter.
Idoko one. And he is a Nigerian artist, lives in Nigeria, and he is inspiring to me too, because he creates amazing realistic portraits on large pieces of wood, with fire. So I believe he uses a torch, wood burning tools, charcoal, and a razor blade. Incredible artist. But for him, what inspires me is he uses his culture, his life, his experiences, and he creates a message and shares that in his artwork. It's usually portraits of Nigerian people, and it's just, to me, just so inspiring to see someone that just uses their art to share something bigger than, just what their art looks like. There's this huge message behind it, and he does a lot with his art too, goes and puts them in galleries. I think he was just recently in London,
Wow.
super, super cool artist. And then Chris Burkard, he is a photographer, pretty famous, pretty well known in the photography community. I had the pleasure of meeting him. He is so passionate about Iceland, and you can just see through his photos and what he writes in his caption. He just loves what he does. He loves photos. He too uses his art, his photography, to do bigger things than just what the picture is. Like, he uses it to help charities, or whatever it is. And I also read that he put on one of his captions that he's colorblind.
Oh my goodness.
And he has these amazing, perfectly colored pictures that are just like composition. And anyway, he says he never adjusts colors in Photoshop. It's just he plays with whatever the tones or whatever.
Saturations and
and I was like, what? And it's like, no matter, if you love something so much, nothing's gonna hold you back.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I went to Iceland, and I just found this huge, I just love Iceland so much. And having connected to his pictures, and he goes to Iceland so many times a year because he loves the people and the culture. And he's there now, and he's doing work with this volcano and helping the community, and he does it through his art. And I was like, they're doing something bigger than just making a piece of art. They're using their art to share their message, all through these accounts that I've shared today. So for me this year, I was self-discovery, what is my message? What,
right.
I've created so much art for other people, but when I make art, what is my message? What am I trying to say? Who am I? And it's just this whole process for me this year.
So, do you feel like you're starting to find an answer there?
I don't know yet. I think so. I really do. But I don't have it in words right now.
No. But we're only just over halfway through the year. You've got plenty of time.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's my mission. That is definitely my intention with making art, is seeing what I can do, something a little bigger than me, So.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you've shared so much already, but is there one top tip or trick or thing that you're yeah, I think everybody would find a lot of value in this?
What's worked for me, I've already said it, work smarter, not harder. I think it's so simple, maybe cliche, but it really hits home. And if you really, really love wood burning and you're loving what you're doing, make sure that you are intentionally making decisions to keep loving it. Don't let yourself not like it,
Yeah.
because it does so many wonderful things for
Bump those prices
you.
up, or say no to some commissions, or do what you need to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just keep loving what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, you have your creative journey that you're on right now, and a couple more collections that you're putting out this year. Is there anything else, any other journeys we can follow you on?
Right now, no, just this new collection called Ominous. And it's like a darker, kind of more moody art that I'm kind of discovering. Um, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. And I think my other goal that I haven't shared yet is that I want to move more teachings online. So I'm hoping that by the end of the year, I can fire up YouTube. I have lots of ideas and lots of plans, and also some master classes that I'm also working on.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm excited to see those come out and to check out the YouTube channels, add it to my watch list. And
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. This has been so much fun.
Thank you, Justine. I was looking forward to this for so long. So yes, thank you for even offering this like to the community and just like being that go-to to like hear other artists. Like I had watched a couple of your other ones, and it's so nice to hear the artist and the people speaking and their journeys, and it's so inspiring. So thank you for being like that hub for this.
I'm happy to do it because selfishly, I get to spend all this time with you guys and hear your stories firsthand.
Yeah. You're doing what you love. And
Yeah.
You can tell. It shows.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Peak Pyrography is produced by Fedde Studios. If you like today's episode, please like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. You can share your comments with me on today's episode or any future episodes ideas on Instagram at Peak Pyro Podcast or via email at peakpyrography@gmail.com. That's peakpyrography@gmail.com. Until next time, keep creating. I can't wait to see what you make next.